So for a while, played Smash Ultimate competitively. It was fun. I had some good runs, some good matches, met some great people. Got to step out of my bubble and experience what I would only call as a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me. Now, around the time of the death of Smash 4 and people were waiting for Ultimate to come out, I was in the military and I'd watch the tournaments in the barracks. And I'd be like, man, as soon as I get out of here and get back home, I think I'm gonna go to some tournaments. I'm gonna get involved in that. I think I could do well. Well, long story short, I did alright, did pretty okay. Was never consistent after a while, and of course I am the type of player that is not willing to compromise my integrity to be a winner, right? And by that I mean I'm not going to pick a top tier character. I'm going to pick the character that I just like. I will try a handful of characters. If there's a character I like, that is the character I play. That's pretty much how things went for me. And long story short, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I wouldn't trade for nothing. The friends, the tournaments, the upsets, the whole vibe, man. It was new to me. It was like a childhood dream come true. But, of course, this story, I wouldn't say has a good ending or a bad ending. For me, it's just, I'll always play Smash. At this point in my life, I will never be able to really take it serious. And I could never get overly invested. And this simply boils down to a handful of things, but one of the main things being, as you become an adult, you get older. And as you get older, you don't have the same amount of time as, let's say, a teenager or something, right? And that's the reality of it. You have I don't have the responsibilities that other adults have, right? Some adults may have children. They may have a wife, and, they got work, and they got to juggle all these things while trying to stay competitively viable, trying to keep themselves, their reflexes sharp and their muscle memory on point, and following the meta and all that. It's time consuming, right? And it's just not reasonable for an actual adult. It's not a thing. You can, but it's a low return on investment. And oddly enough, Smash is one of those games, well, Ultimate in particular, is one of those games that no matter how much you invest into the game, there's only so much you can get out of your character based on how the game is. Different characters have different combo routes, different win conditions, different kill confirms, and different setups. And all characters are absolutely not created equal. Every character is definitely way more viable than ever before, but we can't just deny the reality of they're not the same. There's a tier list for a reason, and the characters that are higher on the tier list are characters that are going to have an easier time racking up damage and closing out stocks, or they just might be cheese masters, or they just have good survivability. Whatever it is, at the upper levels of play, you're gonna see a reoccurring theme. Tiers, high tiers. You won't see too many low tiers in the high play. You won't see too many mid tiers in the high play. You're going to see A tier, B tier, and S tier. C tier, D tier, and F tier, not so much. They're there, and they make upsets, and people lose their mind when they get to see that, as they should. It's just a reality of it. At first, when the game was new, we knew of tier lists, but the tier lists were constantly fluctuating. There was no guarantee in anything. People were still discovering things with the character, 0 deaths, gimmicks, cheese, strategies, kill confirms. All that stuff was still being fleshed out. Now that the game's been out for as long as it has been, it's not the same. And one thing for me that I learned is the more I understood the game and the better I understood the fundamentals, the more I actually started losing. But even though I was losing with understanding. When the game first came out and everybody was just scrubs, kinda just getting it in, it was different, right? But once everyone learned the matchups, once everyone learned their combo optimization and all that stuff, then things just kind of plateaued to be how it is now. And so now it's even though I understand the game and I understand all my character knowledge tenfold, it ultimately doesn't matter. If there's only so much that knowledge is gonna do. Yes, you're gonna delete people, and yes, you're gonna have some pretty cool setups, but I mean, your character is who it is, and he's gonna be limited by his kit, and that's just the reality of the game. The game wasn't created to be competitive. It was, even though there's a lot of competitive elements in it, it was mainly created to be a party game. And that's why there's certain gimmicks in the game that's just you'll hear people complain about things, but you know what, bro, you're the one that chose to take a party game serious. And this is why I find myself, kind of gravitating more towards Smash 64 Remix a little more, because to me, even though Smash 64 still was considered a party game, it's character combo expression, due to that very generous hit stun, allows you to, anybody to touch a death. It allows for anyone to get a lot of mileage off of a neutral win, but of course the mechanics of the game are not as intuitive as Ultimate's mechanics are. So there's Z canceling and stuff like that if you're not familiar with, the timing of something like that could be a little taxing on you. It's like doing a move and falling with it and then teching the move that you did. So you have to tech every time you throw a move. And if that's something you just never knew about, because I grew up playing 64 and I didn't even know that was possible. We played it competitively amongst ourselves, but in an ignorant competitive way, right? No items, 3 stocks, Dreamland, but we didn't know about Z cancels and stuff like that. We were just doing what we could with the knowledge we had. This is before the internet. Anyways, I enjoy playing that more, and if I was to play a Smash game competitively again, I would play that. Now, I still may show up to a local or something, but as far as me spending a week grinding in the training mode or really labbing out that new kill confirm or that checkmate scenario and all that kind of stuff, I just don't have the time for it, nor the energy or excitement for it. Because when Ultimate first came out, the level of excitement was never before, and I will admit I was on the hype train. I was there. I would if a new Smash game came out and the mechanics were a little different. If the flow chart of the game itself felt a little different, I would reevaluate and see how I feel about the game. And I still couldn't take it as serious because I still have my adult life. But of course I don't have no kids or no wife or anything like that. But this is just a quick insert. Don't get it twisted. I'm attracted. I'm single by choice. I just still have an adult life. I have jobs. I have stuff I have to do. I have parents that's up in age that I have to check on and stuff like that. I don't have time to just be wholeheartedly dedicated to a video game like that anymore. And mind you, I got a huge, massive library of backlogs, 300 plus games in my backlog that I could be playing versus just dumping all my time into one particular game. Now, I will always play Smash Ultimate because I will always love getting online if I got a little bit of time to kill and you just want to jump into quick play. really fast, that'll always be something that will always itch that scratch for me when I'm just like relaxing and stuff. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I got a little bit of time to kill. Let's run a couple matches real quick. Sometimes you get the hell beat out of you, and sometimes you go undefeated, and then you get offline and you're like, oh, that was pretty cool. I actually got on there, and shoot, I feel like I still got it. When in reality, I know I ain't got it like I used to, and I ain't got the time that I used to. And another thing that I personally dislike about the game myself is that I feel the game doesn't allow you, it forces you to play in a linear fashion. Like, you can't play your character the way you want to play them, if that makes any sense. Like, and that's where archetypes come in at, right? A good example in Smash would be like Rob. If you did want to like be a little more aggressive with your Rob, he definitely has the buttons to do it. There's certain characters that are zoners, such as like the Belmonts or the Gunner, and you absolutely can't just be up in someone's face. You don't have the frame data, the moves, or the tools necessary to just beat someone up, you know? You have to play the long game. You have to outspace them. You have to set them up. You have to fake them out. You have to do that stuff, or you're just gonna lose. There's no benefit. In fact, you're just basically running into the opponent's win condition if they're a brawler type and you're in their face like that. And it's for that reason I feel like the game just doesn't have enough creative expression for me, but I'll always have fun playing it. It's just that I don't like being limited, and it's like, if you don't like that, then play a different character. But yeah, then like, for example, let's say I switch to, I don't know, Little Mac, and that's a terrible example, right? And for many reasons. But if you play Little Mac, you have to accept the fact that you cannot do aerials. You just don't get to do that, right? You don't get to enjoy, you know what I mean when I say you really can't do that. You know, the character was really designed around that, you know, and a lot of the characters, in my opinion, are a little overly balanced regular roster to absolutely absurdly over-tuned DLC characters. And once that was kind of introduced into the game for me and the buffs and nerfs stopped, I kind of died on the inside competitively. So like, yeah, I would still like enjoy going to something or playing something competitively every now and again, just to scratch the itch. But me spending $200 or $400 on getting a room and reservations for a venue and you know, all the stuff that goes with it, I don't have that kind of time to waste, or the resources to just dump into something like that just to get straight washed by a Kazuya in pools or something. And then after that, your next opponent is like a Min or something, and you're just like, yeah, okay. And then maybe your last match is against a Belmont or a Greninja or something, and at that point you're like mentally flaccid, and it can just be a little tiring. The game will always be fun, and I'll always still play it, and I'll always still go to the locals on and off, but I just could never reinvest into the game like I did before. Long story short, great game, beautiful game. Sometimes I just wish that there was more to do within the game itself too, you know, outside of just having to run quick toxic fades online. So sometimes, you know, when you're in the mood for something a little more co-op or something a little more chill, it just, some days I don't play it because I'm like, I'm not in the mood to be in a bad mood today. No. As much as I like playing online, like, once you invest so much time into a game, you can only, like, you don't even really have fun when you win, but you'll definitely get pissed off if you only lose. That makes no sense how the psychology of that works, but like, you feel like there should be some investment on return on the time you put into it, and that return on investment is not being met when you're just getting straight washed or something, right? But when you're winning, you're like, meh, as expected. And then when you lose, you're like, motherfucker, this is some bullshit, stupid ass game. He should have fucking been dead a long time ago. How the fuck he survived that shit? Or this laggy ass shit? You just get so mad. But ultimately, pun intended, it's just a game. A party game. This is just an after video insert. The whole point of playing games in general is to have fun. That's what we play them for. It's a form of escapism or just to relax. As the old corny saying goes, use the thing, don't let the thing use you. If you're not having fun, then what's the point of even playing? And that's one of the negative sides to competitive gaming, because you can never go back to simply enjoying it after that. You really kind of have to go out your way to do so. And of course, that only applies to the game that you're taking competitively.